What up, guys? How we doing? Okay, so I have had a lot of you guys ask a ton of questions about this Twilight Cup. I have redone the numbers, done the numbers again, redone them again, and it's starting to become a little bit confusing for some of you guys. I've talked to a few of my friends. I see you guys post down in the comment section what Pokemon to bring with you. There is no certified group that you need to bring. I'm going to lay this out in an analogy that hopefully you guys can understand. It is a sports analogy, but you see this court behind me? Basketball, right? Imagine you're playing a 3-on-3 game, right? If you're picking your team for a 3-on-3, you don't want to bring 3 of the exact same player to that tournament. And what I mean by that is, you don't want to try and go into a 3-on-3 tournament and have 3 Allen Iversons or 3 Shaqs or 3 Dirk Nowitzkis. You want people that have different skill sets that can accommodate more game play so that you can actually last in a tournament better, right? If I bring 3 Allen Iversons against 3 Shaqs and I limit the field down to 2 feet, then Allen Iverson's not gonna be able to do anything. Shaq's just gonna stand there with his hand in the air and boom, the game is over. Shaq's gonna dunk it every time and AI is not gonna be able to do anything. So there are 3 different types of Pokemon you want to bring to this tournament. My suggestion and strategy for that is bring 2 of each type. That way you don't have anything to worry about. We have pretty much eliminated Ghost as an option in this tournament. I will talk about 1 questionable option, maybe 2, and then the third one is a real stretch depending on what your defender has. But the biggest part of this is, what do you have in your inventory? And I pull up my screen so you guys can see it. It's not gonna be the best way to just bring 3 Umbreons in and see if you can. In fact, the tournament eliminates that option. So do you want to bring in what I have labeled as 3 tanks? Do you want to bring in 3 pushers, or do you want to bring in 3 wild cards? Everyone in the planet has talked about Toxicroak in this tournament. Everyone has talked about Azumarill in this tournament. Everyone has talked about Alolan Muck in this tournament. Well, if you bring just those 3, do you limit yourself? So once again, we'll go back to the basketball court. You can't just have attackers. You can't just have Allen Iversons. You can't just have the defense. You can't just have Toxicroaks. And you can't just have a bunch of oddballs like Alolan Muck. You have to bring in 2 of each type. That way you're ready for every situation. The people who are very high up in the level 40s are starting to try and overthink this tournament. Easy way to think about it is bring 2 from each category, cover your bases. Don't worry about having the best Toxicroak with this Mudblat, with that. Bring 2 of each type and then identify that other person's team. A lot of people are going to bring in a ton of poison type. Well, if you know they're bringing in a ton of poison type, then you can bring in the Toxicroak, the Alolan Ninetales, the Crobat, the Raticates, the things that eliminate those counters. But if somebody comes in and they just have a bunch of tanks and you have a bunch of pushers, you're going to get knocked out. A lot of people refer to these as glass cannons. If you bring in a Gengar who just does a ton of attack damage quickly, you're done. It's over. Defense is going to outlast. HP is going to outlast. So that's what I want to talk about. If we bring in the 3 best attackers, or we bring in the best defenders, we're not going to have as many options. So what you need to do is you need to bring in a little bit of both worlds. And what I mean by that is 2 of each. So you probably can see my piece of paper sitting in front of me that I've written all over. I have done spreadsheet on spreadsheet on spreadsheet. And the game even has PV Pokey that you can go look at. This Pokey Battler. It comes down to 3 things. 3 things. What's its attack stat? What's its defense stat? What's its HP stat? There are no other questions. You're bringing in 2 of each category. Which ones have the best HP? Which ones have the best attack? Which ones have the best defense? If you look at the HP stat, Drifblim is so high above the other ones, it's not even close. It has 213. The only problem is he only is a great defender against toxicroak. If you want to put him on your team as a toxicroak counter, he's perfect. But I like Crobat better, who has a slightly less HP, but has a much better attack and stamina. And it does have that ghost move, so it does have the ability to knock down. It does have the ability to knock down that toxicroak. So my top 3 or 4 for each category, if you're looking for tanks, you know about Umbreon, you know about Swalot, you know about Raticate, and you definitely know about Azumarill. But how do you guys counter those? Well, if you want to, what you can do is you can put in a pusher, somebody who gets off attacks fast, who can make you eat up your shields, and then you can start doing real damage. Crobat, Alolan Ninetales, Alolan Muck, those guys all get attacks off very quickly. Then you can start looking into your wild cards like Toxicroak, Mightyena, Drapion, and start looking into what attacks they can do to help you counter the tanks, the beasts that are going to never go away. So the other things you want to look at is who has the best attack stat. Somebody I never even looked at in this tournament was Tyranitar because of all the weaknesses that he has, i.e. Azumarill, in this tournament. But if the person you're going against doesn't have an Azumarill, he's going to do a ton of attack damage, and he's decently tanky. He falls in 2 categories. People are talking about Ivysaur and Venusaur as pushers, or what I call getting your shield out quickly. These guys within 4 or 5 quick hits get a charge move off, which forces your opponent to think about using their shields. So I have not, dwindled down my 9 to 6, and I really wish I could, but I'll show you guys here on screen real quick. I have currently got 12 in my Twilight. I'm gonna lose that. I currently have 12 in my Twilight picks. As you can see, my Toxicroak isn't maxed out, doesn't have the major skill set, doesn't have Mud Bomb because I don't have any charge TMs. Yes, I will be doing some tournaments to try and change that, but I have taken it down to these final 12. You guys can go ahead in the comments and say I need Venomoth or I need some of these other things, and I agree with you for some situations, but you have to remember, if I'm having trouble getting a Toxicroak in the right CP category and with the right movesets, there are also going to be people in my tournament that have the same problem. Skuntank is not going to be something everybody sees all the time. That event was great, but not everybody caught every Stunky they saw. Alolan Monk is hard to get into this tournament. Scorpio-E is not obviously seen unless you have a nest. Alolan Ninetales, another one that you have to have, an Alolan Vulpix from an egg. These guys are all very specialty Pokemon to bring into this tournament. Same thing with Crobat. You have to have enough candies in order to get him in. So the ones that are very easy to get into this tournament are ones that you might want to think about countering. For instance, Swalot. Gulpin is everywhere. It only takes 50 candies. Probably going to be able to see it in this tournament. Alolan Raticate, maybe not maxed out like mine, but it will be able to be seen in this tournament. Umbreon, we did have an Eevee community day. Most people are going to have an Umbreon. Azumarill takes a ton of Stardust to get it to a point where you want to use in this tournament. How many people are willing to put in that Stardust? So my 6 is probably going to be different than everybody's top 5, top 10. I've given you guys a top 10 based on the movesets before they did the moveset change. What I would suggest, I'll put a list on screen so you guys can see it. There's about 18 Pokemon you want to bring into this tournament. Everybody is saying Azumarill and Toxicroak are the #1 and #2 things to bring in, and then obviously there are all these talks about bringing in somebody who has a secret ghost move like Crobat or an infestation like Venomoth. If you want to put in the time and effort to bring those in, that's perfect. I've gone over what you could bring in. My suggestion, look into what you have. It's hard to bring in specialty Pokemon. It's hard to bring in these other ones. Eliminate the ones that have attack. Everybody's talking about how great Sharpedo is in this tournament. He's a glass cannon. If you want to bring him in early when you still have 2 shields, could be a smart move to get that huge attack bonus. But his HP is only 123, so he's gonna die super fast. If you want to live forever but take the risk of getting hit with ghost types, Drift Blim is gonna last forever. He has an HP of 213. Azumarill has an HP of 186, but they both have counters. So my suggestion, every single time, 2 of each category. 2 attack, 2 defense, and 2 complete wild cards that you just don't know what they're bringing in as far as moveset. Nidoqueen, Nidoking completely can throw people off. Drapion has 2 moves that completely throw people off. It also has 2 immunities that people don't even remember because it's dark and poison. Same thing with Alolan Muck. You could bring all of these guys in. What I am saying is, don't limit yourself. When I went to this last tournament, I played against 2 people that brought in only 1 or 2 ideas as far as strategy. I went in against a guy who had 5 fighting types and 1 rock type. If you have the counter to fighting type, bring 2 of them in and then 1 counter to the rock type. You know you're going to beat that guy every time because he doesn't have a 3rd option. Same thing with this tournament. If you have someone who brings in all poison types and you bring in that Crobat and that Drift Blim who are neutral damage or not very effective against poison, you're just going to have to out shield them and out HP them. You out survive them by bringing in a tank like Umbreon, you're set. Or if they're the complete opposite of that and all they have is people that want to get out your shields quickly, i.e. they bring in a Gengar and a Tyranitar and an Absol, and all you have to do is bring in 1 defensive Pokemon and then 2 tanks, you'll outlast them. Think about those strategies. There are several strategies. When it comes to this 3-on-3, you don't want to be stuck into 1 category. Somebody said bring in Alolan Ninetales, Azumarill, and Gardevoir, because Gardevoir has a counter to Toxicroak and Azumarill has a counter to both dark types, and Alolan Ninetales can take out with its ice moves, can get off its moves quick enough against poison that it doesn't die. Yeah, but what happens if all they do is counter fairy types and they don't bring in Toxicroak? You're done. They're gonna outlast you. They're gonna eat up your shields. They could bring in Venusaur and Ivysaur and you're done. It's a 3-on-3 game. Ghost is pretty much eliminated. Find a poison type or a dark type that can learn a ghost move to cover your bases there. For instance, Crobat is a great opportunity, or you just bring in Toxicroak, which covers you. My 6 is probably going to be pretty similar to anybody. I'm going to go out on a limb there and bring in 2 tanks. I will probably bring Swalot and Umbreon that are just going to be tanks for me. They're just going to be people that go out there and take a ton of damage and sit. I'm also going to bring a Crobat probably, and either Alolan Ninetales or Azumarill, and just counter any dark type that they bring in. The other one, I'm going to flirt around with 2 wild cards. Mightyena, I have a Toxicroak. It's not the best. I might bring it in, I might not. I haven't sit that 6th spot quite yet. Alright, so guys, like I said, it's just an analogy. It might help you with making a team, it might not. That's completely up to you. But to put it down to brass tacks, to get it down as simple as possible, simplify the Twilight Cup. It really is only about 55 to 57 Pokemon that you can even bring into the tournament that will help you do well in the tournament. Yes, you're going to need to take those and dwindle it down to an even 6. So good luck with that. When it comes down to actually assembling your 6 from those 55, 56 Pokemon, keep it real simple. When you're picking your team, out of your 6, 2 or 3 of them you're going to want to be poison or dark type or both. 1, Toxicroak. Bring a Toxicroak. Pretty much you kind of need it. 1 or 2 of those are going to be counters for Toxicroaks. And then 1 wild card. So Togetic, Alolan Marowak, one of those strain ones. Just the people do not know how to respond to Alolan Ninetales. They just don't know how to counter it because it's not one of the 4 that we've been studying. get your 6 and do tests. Trades, but go out and actually do PvP versus each other battles to find out what is the most beneficial. For my 6, are going to be 2 or 3 poison and dark type, 1 toxicroak, 1 or 2 counters of toxicroak, and a wild card. I hope that helps, guys. Like I said, this is the super simplified version of it. You have 55 options. Get it down to 6. You got a little bit of time. Figure it out. As always, this has been JPRaleigh signing off. Catch everything.